promise when you get it. And I really intend that you get it so you can experience this laughter. I'm using the language of spells to break a spell. Let's break the spell once and for all, shall we? We are the cosmic riders. So many people struggle with themselves and wondering why they're seeing things out there, the scenes that are playing across the plane, across the realm, struggling in fear and chaos. And no, we don't know. This ego is out of control. This whole thing about the ego is out of control. July 11th, 2025, episode 19. Thanks for tuning in. Hi, welcome back. Love having you here. Today I'm talking about the ego. Hi, I did not even mean to start that. That's hilarious. Here I am. Welcome back. I love having you here. Another episode of the Dawna Cosme podcast where I share wisdom and insights that come to me on the regular. So today I'm talking about the ego. It's out of control. It's way out of control. Okay, so there was this guy named Freud that came along, and he was a psychologist, or he had the label of a psychologist, and he claimed that everyone had this thing called an ego that they had to either conquer, overcome, fight, war with, resist at all costs. No. Let's clean that energy right up. First of all, we are source being. Never connected, never disconnected, in relationship with, and those words I'll actually credit a wise indigenous elder for saying so, because that's the absolute truth. So the ego doesn't exist. Let's just put it right out there. The ego does not exist. It never did exist. What always existed is what the indigenous refer to as the two wolves, right? Which one we feed, correct? And underneath those two wolves, beneath that, deeper than that, more subtle than that, is the source self. Okay? So, as long as someone is trying to fight and to fight and to fight this so-called ego, they will fail and they will reinforce it. And it will go stronger and stronger and stronger. And it's hilarious, right? What was it? Michael Bernard Beckwith, my buddy, said, what we resist persists. I feel it's him that said that. The ego doesn't exist. It is a invention. It is an invention. Now, whether that invention was instituted by the Tavistock Institute for Mind Control of the masses of human consciousness, or whether it was really Freud that was really the lost and wounded individual who I read his energy on, was it just innocently him thinking he really nailed something? Like, I've got it, I've got it. You know what that feeling is like. And so maybe he came upon that feeling and was convicted and yes, I've got it. Or, like I said, the Tavistock Institute began a mind control for the population, for the masses, for all soul beings, to disconnect from themselves, to fragment out from themselves. So we are source. This is the order. If there's order, because it's all just one. I'm using the language, the spells we've been given. Actually, I'm using the language of spells to break a spell. Let's break this spell once and for all, shall we? So we begin as source. We don't have a beginning or an end. Bear with me, okay? We start as source energy. And then the octaves, right? Source octaves into denser frequencies. And here we are, right? This beautiful being. Now, the ego is referred to in the dictionary as basically the interface. I'll use my own words. You can look up the definition that helps us navigate this realm. Okay? So we have a body for a reason. It is valid. Everything that is valid. Whether we see the validity or not, it is valid or it would not be here. I didn't say important. I said valid. So this so-called ego is really the lower nature of man, right? So we have who, man, who, from my brief looking into it, is the ancient name of God and the one and man. So think about it. God, man, right? And man embodies Mempha, Alpha, Noon, male and female polarities, right? But it's really all one. It's just one. The acorn is an oak tree. Get it? So we are source. This is the order. I'll start again. Thanks for bearing with me on my tangents. This is the order. Source, then into multidimensionality, and then last is person. Like person is on the bottom of the totem, if you will, because the person is the farthest out. And our whole journey, journey might be a poor word, again, spelling. Our whole self-discovery is bringing that source through this low density vessel, right? And when we do that, then everything comes into alignment. So it's not a matter of getting there, because there is here, now, always, right? And it's just that it's time. We're grown now. It's time. And also the new wave of, I don't want to even say new wave, but the most recent wave of frequency consciousness that has come through is grasping that they are source and that they function through a vessel. And so many are delivering messages in so many different ways. So my message to you today, as source energy, expressing as Dawna, my message to you today is the ego does not exist. You will only continue. Anyone who embraces that idea will be struggling this lifetime, if there's a next. There is no such thing. Oh, a turkey. Gobble, gobble. Wow, that was weird. Okay, so what we are is multi-dimensional person, right? Down in octaves, or up in octaves, depending on where we're looking from. So I'm doing my best to look from the deepest place, from that, okay, the isness. And as we do that, octave down, vibrate down, vibrate denser, density, vibrate denser, right? It comes with its own host. We have an emotional body, we have a physical body, we have a mental body, we have a spiritual body, right? And all of it is spiritual, right? Because all of it is unseen. All of it is spiritual because all of it is unseen. So when we really realize there is no ego, there is only lower self. We can call it the shadow, we can call it the lower self. It is still you. It is still you. It is not the true you, but it is you, and it is valid, and it is necessary on this realm. And please sit with that within yourself to see why it's necessary, because this video can get really long if I start going into that. Sit with yourself, get your answers, and see why it's really necessary to have the ego in service to the true self. It's not that they're separated. People become spiritual, another word, throw that out. People begin looking deeper on their spiritual path, and then they want to throw away the person. Yes, the person is all the problems. However, when the person is in service to the true you, the true essence of who you are, the person is no longer a problem, because the person is only emitting, radiating, channeling sending all of the information from the true self. So it is valid, it is necessary. Person and body basically go together. And how else will source express itself? Okay, so when this is out of control, so this is source and this is person, right? We'll call it person. I'm not going to use that word ego. It doesn't exist, right? So when those two are out of alignment and person is up here and source is in the background, hardly ever recognized, this is where all of the so-called evil, chaos, fear, doubt, confusion reigns, because this isn't even real. This needs this to function. So it needs, the scale needs to go like this, and source is here and the person is here. Now it's all still one. I'm not going to keep getting into metaphysical properties right now, because like I said, this tape will go on and on. I'm specifying that the ego does not exist, that man made him up, and actually one man made him up, and everybody drank the Kool-Aid. Not everybody, most people drank the Kool-Aid. So no more fighting, no more struggling with yourself. The person is valid, and it is here to work for source. It is here to be in service to source through love. Through love. That's what the person is doing. There's nothing wrong with the person unless we give the person and mistake the person for the true self. It's not. It's not. The person could not be here without the source. The source and then the person. Okay? So I'm intending that I've made this extremely clear. No need to fight, no need to war. And the more that someone wars with their ego, the more wars because of the subconscious acting out on the realm. The more someone fights against themselves, the more someone resists love, the more someone resists their true nature, fights against, resists, the more that the dream, if you can call it 3D dream, the full-on dream will persist, because that's what's going to be reflected out there. Out there is really in here. That's another video. I'm doing my best to stay focused on this thing called the ego that was made up, conjured up. And it is a spell that needs to be broken now. If anyone really desires to be the true self, there's only one. If anyone truly desires that, the whole concept of the ego and something to fight against, to war against, to conquer, to get down, and have dominion over, that's got to go. That's got to go. That's got to go. It just needs divine alignment. Source, person. It needs divine alignment. And it is whole. You are a whole being. A whole being. Okay? So I hope that's it on the whole ego, because it's out of control. It's simply out of control. And so many people are struggling within themselves and wondering why we're seeing things out there, the scenes that are playing across the play, across the realm, struggling in fear and chaos. And we don't know. And you've got to, at some point, we've got to get that it is all interconnected. And we've got to take accountability for what we're imbibing, emitting, radiating, channeling, delivering. We've got to take accountability for our actions, our words, our thoughts even though, some can hear our thoughts. However, it is time to take accountability for what happens here, because what happens here happens on the realm. I cannot make it any simpler. I cannot. Okay? So once we begin this spiritual deepening, there's no need to condemn the person. There's no need to fight an ego. It doesn't even exist. It doesn't even exist. It doesn't even exist. Okay? It's just when you really get it, you get it. Those that know, know. And I'm sharing this with you so you can be in the know. And when you really get that there's no ego, you're going to have the best laugh ever. You're going to have the best laugh ever. I promise, when you get it. And I really intend that you get it so you can experience this laughter. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, be light, much love. Thank you for joining me, and I shall be back. Until then, much love, much prosperity, much good health.